Thank you for clicking on this video. This is Emma Owoko Inea and this is Emma Owoko Chronicles. Thank you for always coming back and supporting this channel. Kindly click on the like button, subscribe, share with your friends. This supports the channel and I appreciate every single person that has taken time to do this and share this video with their friends. We are growing, right? Yeah, we are growing. So I'm very thankful to everyone who is here. And today is story time. And before I tell any story, oh my gosh, I love the weather today. The sun is slapping me with all kind of awesomeness. Oh my god, I love this weather. I love this weather. Though it's bipolar. No, Nairobi, West Jua. Sometimes when it gets to, what's the time? Maybe 1:30, it's gonna start raining. You don't know what's happening, but hey, we are thankful for every season. And karibu sana. So today, I want to tell you about a story. My story of, what do we call it? My living situation story, because I have lived in these houses. So let me tell you this. When I cleared my campus, I went back home, but I didn't want to stay home for long. So I think I stayed home for 2 weeks, if I'm not wrong. And then a friend of mine called me to Nairobi to do a hostessing job, which was Friday to, like I was to work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I convinced my dad to let me come to Nairobi because I felt it would be easier for me to, go for interviews when I'm in Nairobi rather than when I'm back home in Siaya. So it made sense to him and he allowed me to come. So I think when I was doing this job, I was staying with my aunt. And then for the days that I was working, the Friday, Saturday and Sunday, I would sleep over at the friend's house who had invited me for this job. So as I can't remember how long exactly I worked in this place, but I finally got a recommendation for a job and I got the job. The job was at Airtel. So I moved. I decided with my first salary, I was gonna move because I wanted to stay close to work, but more importantly, I wanted my own space. So I told my auntie I was going to be moving out at the end of the month, which I did. McHugh, I remember so well. I think these guys were paying me 20K, which after, NHIF and SSF and all that kind of thing, my pay was coming to about 18K. And I took a leap of faith and I moved out. I did not have anything. I had beddings and zinaitwaje, vitu za jikoni. Yeah. That's the only stuff I had to my name from campus. I decided to move, and your girl truly, in all her lowness, took a bed sitter because I wanted a house near the road. I just wanted somewhere where I can alight from the vehicle and nimeingia kwa nyumba. So I took a bed sitter by the roadside, going for 8,500 in Kobil area. That house was amazing. I really did love the house, honestly speaking. Sasa, you're being paid 8,500 and you're staying, you're being paid 18,000 Kenya shillings and you're staying in a house that is 8,500. But who was there to tell me all these things? But anyway, I just had a love for houses and I had a love for spaces. And then my friend was staying in a house where it was a single room and the toilets and bathrooms were outside, same to my aunt. And I did not appreciate that living condition. So there was no way I was going to live in a house like that. That is why I wanted a bed sitter where I have my own private toilet and bathroom. So I took the house that met my wants for that season. So I stayed in this house and I always loved new houses. So anytime I would see a new construction or an upcoming house or one that was just about to be done, almost ready, I would go check it out. So I found this house, a 1 bedroom just near. It's now from Kobil, the next stage is called Transami. So I found this awesome, amazing new construction, a 1 bedroom that was going for 15,000, and I fell in love with that house. There was no way you are convincing me I wasn't going to stay in that house with my 18,000 Kenya shillings salary. So we used to have a chama, like a merry-go-round in my place of work. So when the house was not ready yet, but you could book the house you wanted with a deposit. So when I got my money for the merry-go-round, I I paid 15,000 shillings for that house. I don't know what I was thinking. I just knew I wanted that house, but I think I'd spoken to my employer for a pay rise and appraisal, so we're in the process of negotiation. So anyway, I paid the deposit for this house, but by the time the houses were ready, I hadn't gotten my pay rise. Luckily for me, there's a friend, a colleague actually at work, who was looking for a house, and I talked to him about the idea of taking the house and paying me back my deposit, and then maybe when I'm ready in the future we can discuss what will happen, because I didn't know when exactly I was going to get money. Guy agreed. He took the house. And after a few months, actually, I got a pay rise. And funnily enough, the guy was also needed to move out because it was a family situation. And I got my house. So I moved to my first house. I think now I was being paid 30,000 shillings, which would be 27, 28, I believe. So I went into my 15,000 one-bedroom house. Actually, that house was beautiful. That house is still beautiful, I insist. So I stayed in that house for a while until my salary or my expenditure could not sustain it any longer. Like, by the time I was done doing what needed to be done for the month, I didn't even have a single shilling even to buy a shoe. So the only alternative that I had, honestly, was just to move out. So I scouted around for a house, and I found a house, a one-bedroom house, because umejua tumepanda class hatuwezi turudi kwa bed sitter. So I got a one-bedroom house that was going for 10k nearby too, which I moved to. I loved the house. It wasn't bad. I stayed there in a while, but then I left my job at Airtel, and then I found a job in Karen. So, there's no way you can be staying on Mombasa Road, almost Jogo Road, and you're going to work in Karen. So I had to scout for a house in Karen, which I did, and I found a house. I didn't like their bed sitters. They were too small, and one bedrooms are very rare. I looked for a house in Gongtown. The one bedrooms were very rare, and I found a two bedroom going for 12k, and I was operating on a higher pay now, so I decided that would work for me because it's what I liked from what I found. So I moved from my one bedroom and graduated into a two bedroom house. We are balling. So I moved into this house for a job. Kumbuka, job that I went to do, it was like, when you're doing, is it called probation? Yeah. So I didn't know it would either work out or not, but I still took the house, and suffice to say, that probation didn't work out. After the 3 months, I wasn't absorbed in, so I had to move from that house, but I'd sensed it, kind of discernment. So I moved from that house and went to stay with a friend of mine in Udiru, because now I was jobless. I stayed with her for 2 or 3 months. Then I got a job in town. So I needed to look for a place, because I don't like sharing houses. I don't know how I'm surviving in marriage, but I had to look for my place. And my elder brother at the time was living in Zimmerman, and he told me, there's this nice house. It's a 2-bedroom house. They are new. We can cost share. We take the house. Pia tusaidiane hivyo. And unfortunately, we weren't able to get enough money in time to get a 2-bedroom house. So the only alternative that was remaining was a 1-bedroom house, and I had to move. So anyway, we took the 1-bedroom house together with my brother. So I moved from Mudiru, went to Zimmerman, stayed with my brother. It was we lived very well. We get along as adults, surprisingly, than we were as kids. But it was a really nice thing with him. And then one day, like witchcraft, this man comes and tells me there is a nice house, up just near the road. I can go check it out. He was just saying it generally, but your friend is obsessed with houses. So when I went to see the house, I fell in love with it again. I don't know how many times people fall in love, but I fell in love with it again. Decided I have to stay there. My brother said he wasn't willing to move, so I had to take the step of faith again and move into this house. So I moved into a 1-bedroom alone. I think this house was coming to, it was 16,000, and then after you pay water and all this other stuff, maybe the bill was coming to about 18k. And I think that time I was still on a pay of like 30k because I got a new job in town. And this job was actually paying per day. Wah! Jinga nayo. But anyway, I stayed in that house for long. And after some time, nilichoka na hiyo job. Then I went for a certain interview in a law firm. They took so long before, calling us in or telling us who the qualified candidate was. So I got another job in South Sea. Yes. So you can imagine, I used to come from South Sea to Zimmerman. That distance is too long. So I had to look for a house in Mombasa Road because this Zimmerman relationship was just not going to work. So I found a house actually in South Sea because I thought it wise to get a house where it was really close to the place that I was going to be working in, or that I was actually working in. This house was small. It was this like servant quarters from a master house. I didn't like the internal appearance of the house. So your girl decided she's an interior decorator and refurnished, I made the walls. I wanted to put wallpaper. I bought mbao. I still have those mbaos to date. And made cupboards. It had an addict, like where you have space on where they would usually be the ceiling. So I made closet space up there. Like I really invested in this place. And let me tell you the funniest thing, or the sorriest thing about this whole story. I slept in that house for only one night. Once I slept up there in the addict, that place was so hot. I knew I wasn't going to stay in this house. So I called my friend from that house. Remember that first house that I fell in love with? And to my dismay, the guy had a house. So I got a house. So I told this lady, I wasn't going to stay in this place. And I'd actually brought my stuff, which didn't fit even in the house. And I'd ordered for some new seats. I don't know how those seats would have fitted in that house. But anyway, I slept in that house one night and I moved my stuff back to Mombasa Road. I stayed in this house for a while. A friend of mine came to stay with me, so I thought this would work out because she was looking for a job. So I thought when she gets something, maybe it was share and the bill wouldn't be so expensive with the 15,000 house. But she ended up moving to Dubai. So I calculated my options again, spoke to the same landlord. He had some bed sitters that were going for, I don't know if those houses were going for 6.5 or 8.5. And I took one. I'm telling you, that house was so small. And then it was these bed sitters that are usually on the corridor of the house. It was so dark. It was so cold. I remember my mother visiting me and she was like, girl, you are suffering. So I knew I wasn't going to stay in this house for too long. I used to fellowship in Kitengela. So I spoke to some of my church friends, about housing in Kitengela. I would go to some of their houses and I saw their houses were very cheap and fair and nice. And like a dog who has licked your feet, I moved my feet to Kitengela. It was a one-bedroom house. It was a very nice house. It was big. It was almost like a standalone. It was on the ground floor of an apartment, so it was kind of separated. It had a front yard, it had a backyard. That house was very practical for me, and I think at that time I was living with my small bro, so I thought I would do some chicken farming. Anyway, suffice to say, that time when I was moving to Kitengela, I'd actually gotten, you remember the law firm job that I was telling you about? They had called me in and told me that I'd gotten the job. So this job was on Ngong Road, like Uko Prestige. I'm leaving Kitengela to go to Prestige to work. I'm telling you, I only needed 1 month. That was in the month of December. I needed 1 month to know there was no way I was going to be staying in Kitengela. First of all, the queues in the line of the buses of Kitengela. I don't do any estates where people queue for their buses. That is something I just don't do. I want to have like 10 alternatives to the kind of buses I can use to reach where I stay. So this was just not working. Traffic in Mombasa Road, traffic in Kitengela. Kitengela kuna traffic ya mbuzi, ya ngombe, ya magari personal, matatu, nduthi, tuk-tuk. It's crazy. 1 month was enough to tell me I wasn't going to be staying in this place. So I told that guy, this relationship, I don't know what I told him. I told him I was promoted, I was moving or something, I can't remember, because he was starting to bring complaints that the time was too short, blah, 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 deposit, there's no way you're going with my money. That stuff doesn't work in this side of Nyanza. So I called my friend, my 15K obvious friend. Again, he had a house. So I moved from Kitengela after 1 month and came back to Mombasa Road. I think this time my pay was better. I was able to maneuver, but it was still tight. I think I didn't have really sound financial, understanding or literacy at that point. So for me, it wasn't about the amount of money that I was paying for the house. It was about the house. I had to love the house for me to stay in it. So even if I was paying more than I was, in comparison to what I was earning, I was okay. And, I would figure out how to control expenditure in other things so that I'm still able to afford the house. But that must have been 2019, when I started having, a bit of understanding about, financial planning. I knew this house was too expensive for me. So I needed to look for something on the areas of 10,000 shillings. And funnily enough, just next to the house that I was staying in, they were building really modern, bed sitters for, people who have a lot of things but also have a desire for space. So when the house was ready, I quickly moved into that house, and I promised myself, honestly, the only way I was moving out of that house to go to any other house, that is what I told God. I was going to be leaving to go to my husband's house. And there is power in one. So I truly left that house and moved into my husband's house, the house that I'm staying right now in. And it's been a roller coaster with these houses. I can tell you, I lost a lot of money in deposits, moving, things breaking, and all just this hell of moving. And it is something that I would not recommend to anyone. What I'd say, if you're looking for a house, please just try to work within like 20% of your income or lower if you can. Just find something that works within your budget, because utahama utawahi tosheka, utahama mpaka tuende binguni. Just find something that works within your range. It costs you nothing to find something that is practical for your pay and save some coins. Please. Don't be a crazy person when it comes to housing, okay? That's all I wanted to share for today. Thank you for clicking in. I appreciate share. I like this video. Thank you for always spending time with me at Emma Walker Chronicles. We are here. See you next time. Bye-bye.